saying that you love the law and everything, but there was there were these things that he taught you and the rest of your brothers that you ignored, or if you didn't ignore, you were defiant behind it.
Such as?
Well, you say like drugs or
Right. The
right.
drugs.
Mm-hmm. So these things, like, I mean, now that you reach, what's your physical degree now?
76.
76. And you look back at what he was telling you when you about 15, 16, and all the heartache is caused you by not listening to it. Like, can you build on that a little bit?
Oh, the heartache is maybe seeing some of the fruit that I was teaching at the time. All right. Let's go back when Allah had asked us. He had said that he was telling us that a person that experienced something is the best teacher.
Experience is the best teacher.
Right. Because you're going to went through it. You can explain it better. But he also said, but the one who observed is even better. In other words, like, if you see a horse run off the cliff, you ain't gonna run off behind it. All right? Well, anyway, he says, so I want y'all, he said he had told us about cocaine, heroin, marijuana, and all that stuff. They explained how all those drugs affect. And he said, heroin, he said, son, as far as I'm concerned, is the best high in the world. But he says the most deadliest. Now, not knowing, and not preparing myself, because never fucking around with no drugs. How powerful this shit was. Went out and did that shit, and when it was all over with, explained to the father how I thought I was floating around, I thought I was in heaven, how good I felt. Ooh, man, I never felt a high like that in my life. I told you. So he said, now I want you to leave it alone. But the craving was so strong. I mean, a whole lot of brothers, they made it. They made it through it. I wasn't one of them.
You kept going back to it.
I went back, sneaking around, because I didn't want nobody to know. But those who experienced it could tell. Like, man, you still fucking around? You know, like that. Nah, man, I ain't messing around. No, I ain't messing around. You know, lying all the time. Lying all the time. And that shit got bad. That shit got so bad, well, I stopped. So I'm not going to the parliament.
Not gonna go to.
I'm not going to the parliament. The next parliament coming up, I'm not going to it. You know, and the reason I didn't want to go to the parliament was because I knew how I looked, and I knew I was still messing around. I hadn't defeated the devil yet. You know, so.
You haven't taken the devil off your planet.
Yeah, so I stayed away from the parliament. Brothers started coming around, blah blah. I even had brothers coming up on my block because next door to me was a house full of girls. You know, a lady had a house full of girls. You know, Passim, he moved in, one of them, and Hashim and all the rest of them started coming up there. Well, anyway, I would like try to stay to myself, you know, but that goddamn Hashim be dogging me like, well, I said, man, you sure you ain't messing around? I said, man, I ain't messing around. Get the fuck out of here. I said, it's this goddamn Wild Irish Rose, man. You know, this and that. And
You said it was the liquor. It was
the wine.
The wine.
Yeah.
Right.
Wild Irish Rose, man, you know. So, after a while, something happened in my family where the police they beat my mother. They tried to kill me too. Beat my mother when she died after the beating. And I came home and I got me a bag, me and my little fruit that I was teaching, and they didn't mind. They didn't mind the teachings. And I found out later why. They didn't mind the teachings because they could get high. You understand? We'd be on the corners drinking wine, you know, this and that. And I'd be quoting lessons to them. And they would write down the lessons and they would come back to me and quote the lessons to me. And how much you got on the wine? Yeah, you know, we would be getting high, smoking weed, this and that. And occasionally we do some heroin, you know. So they didn't mind. But see, I was building the nation on a weak foundation. On the self-destruction foundation at that. Well, anyhow, a whole lot of them passed on. They was catching shit, yellow giants and all that, messing around with dirty needles and all that old type of crap. And me, once my mother had passed, like I said, I went and bought that package, and my fruit, they hit me, and I went out. But we always had salt shots.
Right.
We always had salt shots. We never would leave one another, you know. Like the rest of them junkies would leave one another in vacant lots and abandoned buildings. We wasn't pulling that shit with one another. And they hit me with the salt shot. No, my sister that like to say, "Oh, what's wrong with him? Y'all shooting up in my house, my mother's house, this and that." Oh man, I can hear
her.
Huh?
That's what your sister said.
Yeah, and I could hear her from a distance, you know. And let that nigga die. Our mother just died, and this is what this nigga doing. So and so. Let that nigga die. She waited. They say she waited until I turned blue. Then she let them hit me with the salt shot. And once I came out of that, I said, lock me in my room. You know, I said, I'm going to tell you some stories, but don't believe none of them. And that's when I started kicking cold turkey. And I slipped some money up on the door. Deborah, take this here $5 and run down there on Southern Avenue and give me a bag. I said, I swear this will be the last time I mess with her. I promise you. She ain't never came back. And I pissed, I vomited, I had the hot spells, cold spells, and all that good shit, man. My room was messed up. Stinking, feces, all that shit, man. But I came through it.
Said 5 days?
6 days.
6 days.
I went through it for 6 days. And when I was done, I cleaned up my room. The gorilla was gone. The gorilla was gone, and I started getting back into my lessons. That